Hello, everyone. My name is Fnan Tesfamariam. I hope you all are staying healthy and safe during this time. Thank you for tuning in. We hope that you will find value in today's interview. As you all know, the ongoing situation in Eritrea continues to escalate for the worse by the regime currently ruling. Much of Eritreans' happiness has been replaced with grief and sorrow. Joining me today is Samson Solomon. Samson is an activist for the Eritrean people overseas, and he has also been impacted and is here to share his story. Thank you, Samson, for taking the time to do this interview and to share your story and your journey. And now, if you can just take the time to introduce yourself and relate to us a little bit about your background.
Thank you, Fnan, for inviting me, first of all. My name is Samson Solomon. I was born in Eritrea, in Nakfa, during the struggle. My parents are freedom fighters, and I grew up in Sahel, and in 1991, after the independence, I came to Asmara. I did my high school there, and in 2002, I went to Germany, fled to Sudan, and then to Germany. I had my educational scholarship there, and I've studied linguistics as a major, and political science and sociology minor. And now I have a family, 2 kids, and living in Germany, and I've been an activist since 2018. So basically after the peace agreement between Ethiopia and Eritrea, and worked in the Yakub movement, and still doing my best, giving my best.
Right, good stuff, good stuff. Okay, so my first question for you is, before your dad's arrest, what was your relationship like with your dad?
I've said something about this in the radio arena once, the day my dad died. We, especially those who grew up in the independence, in the time of war zone, we have something different kind of relationship with our parents. It's like more friendship and more openness.
Right.
In our culture, there is strict, a gap between parents and all the respectful things. So it's kind of different for us, and we have shared our thoughts, our vision, our way of thinking. We were like friends more than dad and son.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good stuff, good stuff. Okay. Unfortunately, your dad was arrested. What was his crime? Like, why was he arrested?
Well, since nobody told us about his crime, we still don't know what he did. What happened is in 2003, was June 14, I guess, as far as I remember, just 2 military men came to his office and took him to the police station. And since then, he was disappeared. We could know that he was in the partially political prison after maybe 3 or 4 days. And since then, we don't know what happened. We have tried to know or to talk to those who are in charge, and everybody was saying this is beyond our knowledge, so we couldn't do anything. And yeah.
Okay. Have you ever visited your dad during his incarceration?
No, that wasn't possible. We were allowed to bring some items like clothes and powder, milk powder, and all this stuff like dried or doses once in a while, medicine, but then there was no way we could see him. There was no opportunity to sit, and talk. We just have to give the policeman all the stuff, and it will be given. So it's pretty. If I try to understand what was happening, my dad was a freedom fighter. He gave his life for the country, and I had some friends who grew up in Asmara, and during the colonial time, the Derg regime, their parents were arrested because they were cooperating with the Tegadiltis, and but they were allowed to see their children and their family every Sunday. They were having time. They were, controlling their homeworks and classworks, their books, and everything. They were like participating in the life of the family.
Right.
And this one was impossible. That kind of life, we don't had it for a long time. My dad had been 14 years in a prison.
Your voice, Samson, your voice. Talk up louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
As I was saying, my dad has been in prison for over 14 years before he died. And he was not the only one who was suffering because of, if he were also committed of a crime, for example, he was not the only person who was suffering. We were suffering because of, we couldn't see him. His mother died because she didn't know what happened. All the family members were suffering. So what I'm trying to say is this is not really beyond our imagination, being a part of this kind of family. It's really hard.
Yeah, I could only imagine, yes. Okay, so things shifted from good to bad, then you moved to exile, but you seem to have managed things really well considering what you've been through. And why is that? You've been through some obstacles, and why is it that?
Well, my vision was, first of all, when I left Eritrea, I've been told I should be concerned about my life. I should go to college, finish my studies, be a man, have my family and everything. So what I did was that, basically. And after my dad passed away.
Your voice, Samson, your voice, just when you stick to the screen, I can hear your voice better. Just a heads up, yeah.
All right, I know, so I should
perfect.
Focus.
Yeah.
All right. So as after my dad passed away in 2017, things come up in my mind. That wasn't the reason why I was leaving from, especially when I get a letter from a friend of him, and that letter was about 40-something years ago, written from my dad to this friend. And it was saying, because my dad was in Sweden. He studied in Sweden and joined the EPLF after he finished his studies. And he was writing everything about his way of thinking, about his vision, about why he's doing this. And he told him it wasn't only about bringing independence. It was also beyond that. He had a vision of building Eritrea and making it a better place to be. So I took this as a goal, as a principle of life for me, to continue to reach out his vision and make it happen. So this is what motivates me right now.
Okay.
Right.
Perfect. Okay, so what is motivating you to continue to advocate for the Eritrean people? What's your motivation to advocate for your people? Is it for your people, for your just family mainly? What is it?
So basically, this is what I've told you right now. It's the beginning is that, I mean, but since things went over and over, a lot of things happened. Like,
Yeah.
There were times you want to give up. There were times like you think this is not going to happen.
Yeah.
But if you have something in your mind that tells you now and then, this is what you stand up for, and you're gonna make it, and you can't quit right now. If you quit right now, that's I want that the legacy of my father to be to be seen and to be heard at the end of the day. So I want to make this, and this is the energy I have, and I have been before I become an activist or advocate to make I did an advocacies. I did some research and had a plan. Started with a plan, with a vision.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is what I'm working for actually. And well, we'll see what's gonna happen.
Perfect. Okay. So previously you were an activist. One day you decided to join Yakub. Can you tell us what was your motivation to join Yakub?
Actually, I started my activity just before Yakub, before the peace agreement. And as I said, I have done some research before I come out to the public. So I come with a point of view that civil resistance, a non-violent civil resistance, could work in Eritrea. And this is the only solution we have. So as the Yakub start up on social media, I thought this is it. We should work with this. And we tried, me and my team, we tried to implement it to the offline. It was basically online on Facebook, and then we starting campaigns on cities, towns, and communities, and it worked, and it goes viral, and everywhere was, as you know,
Yeah.
2019, everywhere everybody was saying Yakub, Yakub, Yakub. And yeah, this is a people's power, it's nonviolent civil resistance, and this is actually exactly what we should do and what we want. So we stick on that plan, and we worked hard to survive Yakub and to not to lose the momentum. And but then things were changing slowly because those who were part of the Yakub were not aware of the strategy of the campaign. They were eager to see that Isaias would be overthrown, but there was no plan actually, and this is what makes things very, very difficult to, because there was not straight the same way of thinking. Because if you are part of Yakub, you're part of civil resistance, nonviolent civil resistance. But if you don't believe civil resistance is not going to work, if you don't believe on that, if you just believe on violence, and you're in a false position, you're in a wrong track,
Right.
So this is what actually the biggest problems I had to tackle.
Fair enough. Okay. So my next question is, rumor has it that you don't agree with Yakub's current initiative to make it a global movement. What do you have to say about that?
Well, first of all, I didn't say I never agree with that. I said I have my concerns. I said, let's see if there are better ways, because I have, made a lot of research. For example, creating a nonviolent civil resistance from abroad, from outside.
Right.
I have done even trainings in Ukraine, and yeah, and in my opinion, this kind of global leadership is basically the problem we create. It's an obstacle by itself, because if you think about it, the whole time we've been trying this, it's been years, many leaderships has been created, as far as I know, and it didn't work. It was blocked and somehow. And we have to analyze, first of all, why is it like that? Or is there any kind of other options? And this is the first problem. And the second one is, if we try to make only a global leadership, we're losing the momentum. We're wasting a lot of time, which we don't have at this time. And the third thing is, like, you have to define your goal. I mean, I've talked with most of the members of Baito Yakub. Still, what is it Yakub going to do? What's the vision? What's the goal? Most of them, they were saying, well, overthrow dictator Isaias Afwerki. Well, this is not the goal of Yakub. I don't agree with that.
Yeah. Because
Yakub is a campaign. It has its tactics, and then you have strategies. Through this strategy, you achieve your goal. And our goal is to flow or to implement it inside Eritrea, just to flow the Yakub, to bring it inside Eritrea. And the people of Eritrea would overthrow Isaias. This is the only way of achieving success. We can't just overthrow Isaias from here. It's not going to happen. So without knowing your strategy, without knowing your vision, without knowing your tactics, you can't organize things. This is not going to work, because everybody has different kind of views. So with such different views, without even discussing about it, you can't create such kind of global movement. And the fourth one, the biggest threat is that if we put ourselves together, it will be easier for the regime to put us on a target. Imagine there are like 10 people now. They are a global leadership. In a global leadership, one of the 10 people could be a spy, could be part of Hagdaf. Yeah. We never know. The whole thing would break out. The whole thing we worked until now would be for nothing. So why would we put ourselves in a target?
Right.
We should think something else, which is very effective and not even a threat for our movement. And leadership without power is meaningless. Doesn't have any meaning. The power of leadership is important, and we need to bring this first of all. I mean, if you're my leader and I don't obey you, what would that purpose for? If you don't pay me, I don't give a damn what you ask me to do. I'm not going to do it. So if I don't obey you, you have no power, even though if you are the leader of the Yakub movement. So we should bring the power first, and power could be through money, through muscles, through organizing, or through knowledge. I mean, information. So if you don't have one of these, and you're not powerful, and it's not leadership, because we have seen that many times. We have seen this in YAC, GI, or all these things that have passed away a long time ago. So in my opinion, the solution would be, Yakub should be for everyone. It should not be owned by any part or any power. So the problem is, but people were telling me, I was not convinced about the idea of global leadership. I was telling them, nobody convinced me why we should do this. They were telling me, well, without organizing, you can't achieve anything. Well, Yakub, as Yakub started, we have created 2 huge satellite TVs
Right.
without organizing ourselves. We have mobilized a lot of people. We have, demolished all the structures and the pillars of exile. We've seen that in DC and in Denver.
Yeah.
This was without organizing, So organizations should be at a limited level. It should be grassroots in the cities, or like women organization, youth, musicians, religious, something like that, smaller ones, The funny thing is about, I live in Frankfurt right now, and in Frankfurt, there are over 10,000 Eritrean inhabitants here. And it's also the hub of the executive regime here. I mean, the council is here. All the the monetary system, government monetary system, comes from all around through Frankfurt, and all the controlling mechanism is settled here, and it spreads out from here to all over Europe. So, if I have to fight exile, why would I go to other cities like Berlin or somewhere else to organize myself? I have 10,000 people here, and I have my enemy in front of my house. It doesn't make any sense. So that was my intention, basically. And I want to discuss about this with all the movements around the globe. But maybe some of the members have seen this as a threat. I was told to say nothing about not to criticize the movement, even if criticism can be seen as a positive thing. I was not there. I was not saying this to insult anybody, or to say that these guys are not doing well enough. But some other ideas should be also considered, and this is how democracy build up. And well, we couldn't go any farther from there, but maybe there will be a solution one day.
Fair enough. Okay. So, do you see a new Eritrea being birthed, and what would it look like to you? What would you like to see?
I have written all my visions for me. It's about 10 pages. And I sent this to Eritrea, to one of my colleagues, who work for me. And they said they feel like the independence has been come right away as they read my manifest, and Eritrea have a lot of problems right now. It will not be easy to implement democracy and law right now and right away, because there has been many divisions and problems. But nevertheless, it's a small country. It has its own wealth. It has its own, strengths, and we should consider of our old cultural and moral ethics that has been destroyed by the regime. If we can do that, we'll be an example for other countries also. And if everybody participates, if everybody also give his best to create a new Eritrea, we will see the future. And I've wrote the book, The Legacy of G15, and there was something they have started, the constitution and the transition of democracy and everything. So the basics has been made. We can start from there, and it will be easy for us to build the whole building.
Right. Perfect. And that book, is it in both in Tigrinya and English, or is it just in Tigrinya for now? Are you planning to translate it in English?
Unfortunately, it's only in Tigrinya, because what I've done is like I have collected all the information at that time in the newspapers and just put it in a book. So it was everything was in Tigrinya. That's why I've written this in Tigrinya. But I think I can't. I mean, if there is anyone who wants to translate it in English or in Arabic or any kind of language, I will be more than happy to see it, and I wouldn't expect any payment also.
Yeah.
This is the book is for the people and by the people. So yeah, hopefully one day it will be translated in English.
Perfect. Sounds good. So my last question, and we have millions of people born and raised in diaspora like myself. What would you like to say to them? Like, what would your call to action or your message be to them?
Well, this is very important for me because I've been trying to work with such young Eritreans. You know, as the Yakub has been created, my intention was even in the social media to bring it to further social media channels like Instagram, TikTok, or all these social media channels that are being used by the young generation, the 20s generation, you know. The problem was that the organization, when it comes to organization, all the participants or the members of the Yakub were above 40. So they were not even themselves. They were not even part of the social media. Some of them were. They don't have even social Facebook, or
right.
They were like active in Twitter and Facebook. So there were no connection between the older generation and the younger. So what they did, the younger generation, like those who are in Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat, they left the Yakub movement.
Yeah.
Because you know, if you call them in a conference, they won't come. But if you don't go where they are, you just lost them. So what I'm trying to say is, those who was born and raised here could be effective in this kind of you know, transmitting or working in that kind of areas. And you know, the Yakub should be actually also not only political action. It should be social. It should be funny, sexy, and should you know, all these things. A campaign.
Right.
Nobody can make a better campaign than you guys. So you know how things go. You know what to do. You know how to work. So we need you. You're the key for the solution. So I please you, those who are really interested about their countries but never thought to get involved in politics. This is not politics. Just make it happen. Let's get together. Let's think about what we can do, how we can make this fun, and this is how it works actually. Because the young PFDJ, for example, if you see, most of them are not aware of politics. They just go to that place just to meet the Eritreans, you know. And we can do that. We can call them to us. This is how you break the pillars of the government, of the regime. You know, nonviolent is not pushing the regime away. It's pulling their pillars to you, you know.
Yeah.
And this is what we should do. And we can't do it without you. So it would be nice to join us.
Perfect. Wow.
And I really appreciate Fnan for your initiative, for your works. I like it, and thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Samson. Well, those are all the questions that I have for today to all our viewers. Thanks again, Samson, for taking the time to share your story and do this interview with me. And to all our viewers, if you have any comments, please leave your comments below. We would love to hear from you. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you
Thanks,
so
Samson.
much.
Bye.